thoughts or questions, please utilize the chat box. There will be many moments where we can dialogue. I fully expect you to talk to me, ask me questions, not because I'm a guru or I have your answer, but I do this in this environment. We do get a chance to talk that we didn't necessarily get a chance to do while we were live there at the Investor Summit. On top of that as well, you're not going to bother me. So throw as many comments as you want. I love a good affirmational feedback. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. So feel free in the chat box. You're like, I love that. Sounds good. Sounds like me. Wish I could have it. That doesn't throw me off. I actually pumps me up. So feel free to throw that in the chat box for me as well, if that's where we are. So let's go through, let's jump in here really quick, make a good use of our time, and then we'll help. And we're going to spend a chunk of our time really going back to that values piece that we went through so quickly at the end. We're going to come back to that and give ourselves a little more time. And really, what does that do for us? Why do values matter? In where we are. And so as we talked to here, remember, we started here, we hold this tension that we are wildly unique, that we are 100% regular. There's no one like us, but we're all equally valuable. Again, to ground ourselves, how do we begin to think about a language for who we are, about our values, about where we're going and what we're doing? Again, let's come back to this space and say, let's come back to the tension of, I'm wildly unique and extraordinary, and there's no one in the world like me, and I'm no more or less valuable than anybody else. We all carry this inherent weight, worth, value, purpose in who we are that is equal to one another. Again, go back to Julie's famous line that I've seen. I even cut a clip and put it on Instagram, that if we allow ourselves to be vertically aligned here, it allows us to hold the tension while my arms are too wide. It allows, if we're vertically aligned here, it allows us to hold the tension here on these two sides to make sure that our depth and our opportunity to engage in a horizontal fashion allows us to be in this space. So want to make sure that we can ground ourselves in that thing. We went through and we answered 4 questions. We called them 4 easy, simple questions just to think through as we got started. What do we think about most? What do we fear if we could do 2 things? And what's one thing we hope to accomplish? Again, the purpose of these questions was, this is how our brain works. If you'll remind yourself, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, our thoughts, fears, hopes, and dreams. Whatever we think about in number 1 typically is related to what we fear in 2. What we fear in 2 prevents us from 3. We don't do 3. We don't accomplish 4. And again, we walked ourselves through that framework. We said, what if we begin to learn the exercise of the upside down? The upside down was, what if we begin to think about it in a different way? What if we started to think about it opposite? If the one thing we thought about most was the thing that we really hope we're able to accomplish in our life, that typically lends itself to our actions. Let's go back to, I believe it was Anthony that was talking to us about the power of focus and energy, that we're talking about, I need more energy, I need more energy. Well, our energy typically goes where our focus goes, and our focus goes to where our thoughts go. And so guess what? If what you're thinking about most is reactive defense, your thoughts go to reactive defense, and your actions go to reactive defense, and your focus goes to reactive defense, and you wake up and you feel like things are not going the way that I want them to be. They're not fast enough. It's not quick enough. It doesn't do it the way that I want it to be. Go to Julie's point, whether it's me or anybody else, an advocate in our life, every coach that's ever existed, coach, consultant, I would even say almost every product that exists on the market exists for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to condense time. Everything you spend money on is to condense time. All of it. Why do you go to the grocery store? It's not for groceries. It's so that you don't have to have a garden. That's why. Because avocados in Idaho are difficult to grow, okay? So you get them from the grocery store. Why? Because it condenses time for your chance to have guacamole. Let's just be honest about that's what's happening. But in every aspect of our life, everything we spend money on condenses time, right? It just condenses time. And so as we think about that, it's the same for ourselves. Where are you at, and what do you need in order to be able to condense time for yourself that allows you to get to the place you want to be from point A to point B, B to C, C to F, and so on? How do we do that in such a way that allows us to know we are condensing time in the most effective, efficient way possible? That's really what we want to be looking at. So we really spend a chunk of our time on these 4 questions, really causing us to rethink where we are and what we're doing and where we're going. Before we jump into values, would love to hear from you, chat box, and or you can unmute. Julie, yes, said she would start if she had to have a garden to live off of, which is fair. So would I. As you think about these 4 questions, what were some things you have thought about since then, some takeaways you had while we were there, or questions you have now as in regards to these 4 questions, the upside down, impact, implication on your life? Thoughts or feedback from you? And again, you can chat box it if you're in a place that you don't want to unmute and talk, or you're more than welcome to unmute if you would like.
I unmuted.
Let's go.
Okay, so basically since then, I am more so in the thought of making sure that I'm active in what I want to do, how I want to do it. Before, it was letting the thoughts take control over like, well, if I do this, then I'm going to feel the rejection. Or it's like, since then, it's like, no, I'm going to take control and I'm going to work hard and push all that to the side.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. That's a great example of and I would encapsulate that, squeeze that down. That's called proactivity over reactivity, right? You can live reactively and get some things done. That's hey, by the way, that's most of us most days. So like you can live reactively and get things done. You typically though have a much longer time in order to be able to get where we want to be, and the time frame we desire is exponentially more difficult though when we are reactive as opposed to proactive, right? If you only ever went grocery shopping when the last morsel of food was out of your refrigerator, would you still go get food? Yes. However, I bet you buy more. I bet you spend more. I bet you don't get exactly what you need and you have less of a plan if you don't go to the grocery store until you have the last avocado and that's the only thing that was left in your refrigerator. I bet you act differently than if you meal prep and you have some groceries and you go grocery shopping to fill the gaps to prep the meals that you want in your fridge so they're ready so you don't have to think about what you eat on a regular basis. I don't think any of us would argue that that's the case. I don't think any of us would argue that would be more effective. It's the same thing in the thing that happens between here and between here. And if we exhaust it all and then we're like, I'll come back to it when I'm ready, it's not as near effective. If we go, how do I prep this thing before we get started? Great point. Tetra says, ooh, the stuff I'm always thinking about has to change. Yeah, hold on tight, my friend, and it will. Yes. Julie says, my fears held me back for the first 35 years of my life. When I believed in dreams, hopes, and aspirations God placed in my heart were intended reality, life completely changed. 100%. 100%. And there's a variety of ways we describe it. It can be described as manifestation. It can be described as affirmation. It can be described as a bunch of things we go through. Oh, the answer to all that is yes. It's our own way to describe what the pieces are that we see, right? But you and I both know if we don't think that we can't eat the so-and-so, the only thing we're going to do is eat the so-and-so. And if all we think is, I can only eat this, we're going to eat everything but that. Why? Because that's how our brains work, right? We're human. Our ability to identify what do we want and flood our brains with the things that we desire have a direct implication on the activity we take on a regular basis. Peter says, in your book, oh, that's my book. Thank you, Peter. You mentioned stories that have been told to us about us plant the seeds of doubt. If our memory can't bring up any stories or very limited stories, we can replace the stories that have been told to us with stories we tell ourselves. Yes, or those stories we tell ourselves come from somewhere. Great question, Peter. That will be our next workshop that we do next month called The Imposter Within. Just kidding, we'll do that at some point. However, to your point, both are at play. All right. Both are at play. If you're curious what Peter is talking about, you can go to beconfidentbook.com and you can get a copy there. He's talking about the book that we referenced. There's a link for you in the chat box. You can go to beconfidentbook.com and grab a copy of that. In that, we talk about doubt, fear, obstacle, insecurity. Yes, Peter, a lot of the doubt in our life comes from the stories that were told to us about us, but they don't simply come from the stories that were told to us about us. They come from the intersection of the stories told to us about us and the stories we tell ourselves. Where those two stories collide, it creates an impact. And that impact typically is fear, doubt, obstacle, insecurity because it's been driven by a narrative that was never ours to begin with. Therefore, let's take what he just said. Let's place that with our framework. What do we think about most? If what you think about most is the stories told to you about you that are setting and establishing the framework for who you are and what you need to move forward, then what we think about most is our insufficiency and our doubt. And therefore, what we fear is most prevalent. And our actions are reactionary. And our goals are elongated. Because we did not compress time, we extended time. Because our thoughts began with what our insufficiencies were, which most of the time are a greater representation of the insecurity somebody else had and communicated to you that they didn't want you to have, so you would not experience the pain that they did. This is a whole other workshop we should get into. It's not why we're here today, but I want to give that framework for us because I want us to understand how much of what you are carrying was somebody else's insecurity that they communicated to you, albeit their intention was good to protect you. The impact left you feeling as though there was a void and something you were missing. And that's financially, that's personally, that's emotionally, that's family, that's relationally. Pick a category. Me as a father changed dramatically when I decided the kind of father I wanted to become, and it wasn't built on the kind of father I was attempting to avoid. I spent my majority of the early part of my son's life just trying to not be my dad, not actually becoming the father that I was made to be. And those are two very different things. Some of you are trying to not have a bad business. You are not actually building a successful business. Some of you are trying to not have bad relationships, not building meaningful ones. You follow me? Thumbs up if you're with me. Yeah. And we believe that the goal is the same. Like we think we're moving in the right direction. As long as I don't do this, then this will be okay. You can't build in a positive direction and it be initiated by a negative connotation. That doesn't work that way. You can't build in a positive direction based off a negative connotation. What kind of leader do you want to be? I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do this. That's not what I asked you. What kind of relationship do you want to have? Well, I want to make sure that we don't do this, we don't do this, and we don't do this. That's not what I asked you. What kind of relation, what kind of real estate portfolio do you want to have? Well, I don't want this, I don't. You don't want to belabor the point. I'll stop yelling at you. We get the gist. We have to have the ability, right, to be able to say what that is. And again, to Julie's point in the chat box, most people can't tell you what they do want. I agree. That's why we created something called the get what you want method. It's not to be cheesy and to tell you how to buy your first Ferrari, unless that is actually what you want. Then we'll help you with that. But the reality is most of you don't. You want freedom. You want peace. You want to know you're safe. You want to be able to choose to go to lunch with your grandma when you want to, pick up your kid and take them to practice if you want to, bust really hard and put in 70 hours if you want to, and then spend a week and put in 7 hours if you want to. That's what you want, however you want it. But if the law of attraction is correct, and all we do is think about the things that we don't want, should we be surprised that we continually find them? It's kind of like the red car effect, you know? There's not very many red cars. Who would buy a red car until you go driving looking for red cars? Unless you have a red car, then you know who you are because you have one that's red, but that's neither here nor there. That's also a different workshop. We should talk about why you have a red car, but that's not the point. We get the gist here. So let's keep going. I want to make sure we understand these 4 parts because they're it's really important for our brain. So we landed here. We said, okay, I'm going to live proactively. I got it. I've thought about it. I have a better, clear picture of what I want, but how do I even know what do I do then? Why does that matter? How do I even use that for any direction or any purpose? And so what we did is we went through here and we started looking at our core values, right? We looked at our core values and we went through and we selected during our exercise. I'm pretty sure I just asked everyone to select one. So what we're going to do, I'm going to give you a little bit of time here today. I'm going to ask that you wouldn't select one. I'm going to ask that you would select 5 for our time today. Okay. I know that might be a big ask for us, but I want you to select 5. All right. I'm going to look for you to select 5 words on here. The 5 things that you would say are the 5 things that you value most. All right. What are the 5 things that you value most? Again, to give us a refresher, these are not things that you hope to be. These are not things that you hope to become. These are not things that you think people should see in you. These are the 5 things you as a human being value most, not as a person, not as a professional, not as an investor, not in my portfolio, not for my small business. You as a human, what are the 5 things that you value most as a human being? I want you to select your 5. I want you to then put them in order of most important to 5th most important, and then write me a quick definition. This is not in stone. This is not forever. You can always change your notes. We just have a limited amount of time on Zoom, so we want to get through it in an effective manner. Pick 5, put them in order, and then briefly define them. Pick 5, put them in order, and then briefly define them. And no, your computer's not freaking out. I gave you music. Some of you thought that was just happening in your head. You thought it just had that effect. I put you in a workshop and all of a sudden lo-fi just plays in your head and you didn't even know it. Again, we're looking for 5. Pick 5 words, put them in order, and then briefly define them. I don't think I said this in the beginning, but this is just for fun. If it's possible for you to have your video on, I mean, I would love to see your face. Don't feel pressured. You can be here without it on, but just know I'd like to see it. Yeah, I knew it just took a little encouragement for Ann to get on here with us. SD got on, but she said, I'm going to show my face, but I'm not going to give you my full name. I just want to give you initials instead, so you have to guess. Just kidding. Oh, Juan Rodriguez joined me too. Let's go. A couple more minutes. Again, I want you to pick 5. I want you to put them in order, and then I want you to briefly define them. Then when you have your 5 words picked out in the chat box, if you'll just write the word done, that'll let me know about where we are. I'll give you one more song's worth, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Pick 5, put them in order, and briefly define them. And then if you're willing, you don't need to do the definitions, just the words. If you'll look what Juan did down there in the chat box, if you would love to share yours with us, you're more than welcome to. You can type them just like that. Type them all in one singular thing and then hit enter. Do not type a word and hit enter, type a word and hit enter, because then you're going to give us 5 chats. Type them all in together. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't make it be fancy. Just type your words in there. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. 90 seconds. There we go. There we go. It's the first time I've ever had 3 people in a row all select free thinking. Four people. Wow. And some in the water here, I think.
Conscious investors. That's what it is, you know.
I like it. One minute. Pick 5, put them in order, and then briefly define them.
Now I know what Rocky listens to on the way to work. This is Rocky in his car, just in traffic.
Hey, I'm gonna take it one step further for you, Peter. If you go to Spotify and you search "Tell Me About That," which is the name of my card game, you'll see there's a playlist called Tell Me About That. It's the same logo as our card game, and it's a playlist we created that when you play the card game, you can listen to this as a playlist in the background, and it's all good instrumental lo-fi music to keep you in the zone and keep you in the mood while you're asking important, vulnerable questions to each other. So it is in fact my playlist, and I do listen to it in the car. So you are correct.
I'm about it.
All right. So we've got our 5 core values. We have them here. We have them defined. A couple of things about core values as we spend the rest of our time really on this component, because as we talked about earlier, when we think about back when we were at the conference, we went through our 4 questions, we looked at how our brain worked, and then we really now are in a place of going, okay, I have a better idea, let's say. We don't have to be a solid or 100%, but I've got a better idea of what I think I want. Because at least I know one thing in life I hope to accomplish. If I could do 2 things, I do these 2 things. So if nothing else, I have a better idea about what I want. But why do I want them? What is my proverbial litmus test? What is my filter? What is my foundation for who I am as a person? Because I'm going to be very clear, and I think with us collectively, we're all on the same page here, but I want to make sure I don't miss this with us. Your core values as a human being, your core values as a person, 100% have an effect on what you do professionally. Now, if any of us have ever worked in an organization or you have your own business and you don't have core values for your business, I would highly encourage you. You can go to rockygarza.com/values. This exercise exists there for you for free as well. And you need to come up with core values for your business. If you're like, hey, but my business is me, great. Then potentially the core values for your business are your core values. They don't have to be, but potentially they are, right? But if we don't have a language for why we're choosing to do, a reason, intention, and motivation behind everything that we're doing, then we inevitably will always arbitrarily choose the next decision, typically based on effective, efficient, and finance. Effective, efficient, our ability to generate income, and those are not bad things. But sometimes there's decisions that you need to make that don't make sense in Google Sheets, but they make sense in your soul. And so the answer needs to be yes. And sometimes there's things that don't make sense in Microsoft Excel, okay, with your pivot table, and it all looks great and all the sheets are talking to each other, but it makes sense in your soul, and so the answer is no. There are some deals that just feel like we have to do, and we go back to who we are, and we know in our gut it says, don't do it. And regardless of what you think your cash flow rate's going to be, you should not move to Omaha. It's a bad idea for you. And vice versa. And we can play those back and forth. But where does that come from? How do we even determine that? How do we know that? What language do we have for ourselves to know should we or should we not? Well, for me, I always come back to core values. How do I know that I should or should not do something? How do I know that I really want to do something? How do I even know why I'm even choosing what I've already been choosing? Because let me be very clear. You did not just get core values on Thursday, March 21st, 2024 at 1:29 Central. You have had them, okay? You have already had values. You didn't just get them today. However, for some of us, we actually just gave a name to values that we already carried inside. And so now we have something to look at that is tactical, practical, and in front of us, right? I love what Hannah said. She said, my whole business this past year has been on the premise of it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And that's what we value, right? It's why, and let me be very clear so we can drive this home, because I think we can all trust each other enough at this point. I would be foolish to assume that you all didn't think that some part of why we're doing this is so that Rocky could have an extra connection point with you, so that I could attempt, if there was one more reach out that we might work together, that you would reach out to me. Because it's called a business. And I came to a business conference. And if I go back to what I value as a human, my core values, vulnerability, intimacy, experience, generosity, fearlessness, I couldn't in good conscience, no pun intended, leave the Conscious Investor Summit without having and offering an opportunity for us to have another 45-minute dialogue about what we started, because I felt like I left the window open and I didn't get a chance to close it. And I don't know how to do that and not close it. I have to close it. I have to have the ability for us to get back together and let's close the loop on what we started together. And not everybody said yes. There's 24 of us here, minus my AI that's taking notes for me. There's 23 of us here, right? There were way more than 23 at the conference. Not everybody showed up. Not everybody said yes. Great. But we're here because it is a function of who I am as a person, and it's what I value. I couldn't get up on another stage and say anything if we didn't do this. It wouldn't make sense. And that's how I want you to think about the implication of your values on a regular basis, right? It's our guiding force internally. But if we don't have a word for it, I love the way Julie said it, then it becomes, we call it our gut, our intuition, our discernment, our like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Right. That's because your body's smart and your body knows what you value. And your body's trying to tell you, hello, Hannah, it's either a hell yes or a no. I've been telling you, what are you doing? So we gave it a language and then we were like, oh, it's so much easier now. Here's what I mean. We say core values serve two purposes. They serve as a foundation and a filter. Okay, you can make yourself a little T-chart if you want to. Foundation on one side, filter on the other. They give you a foundation and a filter. They give you a foundation to build life on, and they give you a filter to run your life through. Okay, that's the way that I want you to think about your core values. Is it serves as a foundation and it serves as a filter. A foundation to build on and a filter to run through. Okay, we go through here and I'm just going to randomly select a few folks and kind of show you what I'm talking about, right? Let's pick on, let's see here. Let's pick on my good friend, Steve Hawley. He popped up here and we share the same haircut. All right. So he said here that his core values were, I don't know why everybody thinks it's so, bald guys talk about other bald guys and we like each other. And then everybody just laughs at us like it's a big joke. But like, if you have brown hair and you're like, oh, call my friend that has brown hair. Nobody laughs at that just because we're bald. That's not why we're here. My feelings are not hurt. All right. So Steve, he said his 5 core values are free thinking, genuine, perseverance. Oh boy. Free thinking, genuine, perseverance, originality, and truth. Okay. So everybody look at that and scroll up on your chat box a little bit so you can get Steve's there. Free thinking, genuine, perseverance, originality, and truth. Now, some of you know Steve better than I do. I don't really know him that well. I talked to him a couple of times. We stood next to each other, shared a cup of coffee. It was nice. Okay. So my point is, in our ability to read those, think about your experience. Let's just pretend we all know him the same, which was we watched him and observed him while we were at the Conscious Investor Summit. Okay. In our observation of him, in his actions that I was able to witness, I'd never talked to him or met him before I got there. Haven't talked to him or met him since I left. Okay. We just had our 2.5 days of pleasure together there. And he watched me in 5-inch shorts get into freezing cold water. So we did share an experience together. All right. We think about that. Free thinking, genuine, perseverance, originality, and truth. Every conversation I had with Steve while we were together was thoughtful, was clear, was convictional about who he was and what he thought. His commitment to supporting his family and his wife and the pursuit and being there and the work and effort that went into it and to persevere even when it was hard. I never felt like I got a different version of Steve. The only version I ever got was just Steve. Every time I saw him, it was Steve. It was genuine. He was open to listening and thinking. Saw him taking notes a couple of times. I mean, the guy was helping putting on the conference. Most people who put on the conferences don't take notes. They just do their thing and drink coffee and sit in the back and talk. And he was willing to hear things in a way he didn't before. And every time I talked to him, he had deep conviction about what was true and what he believed and what he had seen. I only had 3 or 4 interactions with him, total of 37 minutes collectively over 2.5 days. For those of you that know him well, you can either decide whether I'm accurate or not. And those of you who don't know him well can determine based on your simple interactions with him while you were there and watched him. But see, when we have a language to understand someone, more importantly, when we have a language to communicate who we are in a way that's understandable, it is amazing how much more we feel understood. I'm going to say that for you again. It is amazing when we have a language that is understandable. Free thinking, genuine perseverance, originality, and truth. There's not a word on there that any of us are like, wait a second, never heard of that, not sure what to do with it. Okay, it's all language that we understand. Don't we believe that when Steve has a language to communicate why he does what he does as a foundation and a filter in a way that's understandable, do we not all agree that Steve would then therefore be exponentially more understood? And if he is more understood, do we not believe that his actions would also follow suit of someone who was more understood? And think about yourself for a second, right? Think about yourself. Go look what you wrote in there. Look at your values really quickly. When you look at your values and you have a language that you now know is understandable, how much more are we understood? And how much more do we give ourselves the capacity to be understood when we start communicating about who we are in a way that's understandable? Why do you want to buy this property? Why do you want to invest here? Why do you want to have this business? Why do you want to build a better relationship? Why do you want to buy some boring businesses that can generate revenue? Why do you want more revenue? Why do you want to be financially free? Why do you want peace? Anything with the word why in it comes back to one of these 5 words. The idea is everything we are choosing comes back to what we value, or we are choosing it based on the opposite of what we value, and that's typically due to fear or pride. Pride just being a manifestation of fear. Because a lot of us are going, Rocky, I know I have my values, but I feel like I made some decisions that just don't fit. Right? They don't fit. Even though you have values, they don't fit. They don't fit because you've made a decision out of fear or pride, and you're jeopardizing the things that you value most in hopes that somebody would like you, love you, or you would yield a result that wasn't yours to begin with. Anybody ever made a decision? I'm probably not here. It's none of us, but pretend you knew someone. Anyone ever made a decision, and after the decision, you think to yourself, why did I do that? Anybody? Show of hands. Anybody willing to be like, yeah? Anybody ever make a decision in your life and you're like, what am I doing? Right? This was Hannah pre the hell no face. So like, anybody remember that? Anybody ever heard that before? Now, isn't it interesting that we don't ask ourselves, how did I do that? Rarely do we ask ourselves, what did I do? What do we ask ourselves? Why did I do that? It's a very interesting question. I believe that most of us do it out of fear or pride. That's why you did it. For just a small moment, you forgot what you valued. For just a small moment, you forgot the why. For just a small moment, you went into reactive fight, flight, or freeze. Just listen to an article about children. They added a 4th F to that in case you're curious and you have kids, called fib. The component of what children do. They fight, they flight, they freeze, or they fib. The natural component to release themselves out of a panic situation as they just quick tell you a lie. Did you do that? No. Obviously you did. I can look at your face right now. Your eyes have never been bigger in your life. And by the way, there's chocolate on your nose. I know what you just ate. I mean, like, come on, bro. It's literally, I can see it. Now, here's the deal. I'm not convinced that the 4th F is only children. I just think children are the ones who do it publicly. I think as adults, we just do it to ourselves. It's not that big a deal. Doesn't really matter. I'm like, why did I do it anyway? I don't even, so stupid. I don't even know. Who knows? Well, I want us to have a language to know, why do we want to do it differently next time? I'm less interested in the simple behavior because I think we're all very smart, capable individuals. I'm more interested in what's on the inside. I love saying, I think I told you this together, on a scale of 0 to 10, I love starting at -3. It's my favorite thing in the world because I don't know how to help you get from a 7 to an 8 if I don't know what's going on at -3. And so by having a language of core values, it allows us to have, again, we talked about it, allows us to have our foundation and our filter, okay? A foundation we build on, a filter we have to run things through. When it comes to the foundation, it's something we are stacking bricks on top of. You have your 5 core values. We look at here. Let's see. We go to Amanda says learning, connection, caring, genuine, and honesty. And Daniel says free thinking, loyalty, genuine, fun, and optimism. Okay, they're in the same room together. So we're going to play a little fun game because we can all look at them and see them. All right. And now they're both sweating. And Amanda's going to have to take off her sweater because she has sweaty pits. So Amanda said learning, connection, caring, genuine, and honesty. Daniel said free thinking, loyalty, genuine, fun, and optimism. So there's some overlap there, right? If you guys haven't already, go to rockygarza.com/values, collectively together, come up with 5 values for your family. You need 5 that are not just belong to either one of you, but you need 5 that are the things that you say collectively as a unit. This is how we make decisions. It may be 2 and 2, and then a random one. It may be 5 all new ones. I don't know how you do it. My strong encouragement to you, make sure you guys do that together. But let's look at this for fun. And I don't know them very well, so this is just going to be a really fun game we can all play to talk about what do we mean by values as a foundation, okay? Daniel says free thinking, loyalty, genuine, fun, and optimism. Okay. Daniel is down for a good time. He likes taking risks. He likes trying things out. He believes at the end of the day, even if it goes awry and it's all crazy, he's still committed to the process and he can still make it happen no matter what. Oh no, did I lose him? Did they freeze? Did they freak out? We can't use them as an example anymore. They left. That won't be near as fun for any of us. We'll have to go. Oh, they're back. They're back. I think their internet froze. Their internet froze. Hey, let's pretend we said something really profound. They're going to come back and we're not going to know what happened. Yeah. Anyway, so I think at the end of the day, it really is Amanda's fault. That's how. Oh, sorry, they're back. They're back. Just kidding. Amanda, that's
You
not
guys,
true. We made that up. We made that up.
I think you surprised Dan, and he like kicked his computer, and his wife.
It's okay. It's okay. I knew I could see that you were frozen, so you can both just hear me now.
Yeah.
Okay. And we just pretended we were going to make a joke with you when you came back that we were going to say something, but we didn't say anything. Okay. So we look at Daniel, we look at Amanda. Free thinking, loyalty, genuine, fun, optimism. That's Daniel. Daniel is a risk taker. He's willing to take risk. He's willing to jump in. He always sees the good side, the upside of everything. Nothing is bad. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is terrible. There's always a good to be found. In that, he is committed to the process to make sure that even when it is bad, he will make it good. Because there's no reason to have a bad day because days have been worse. Let's not make today a bad day. Let's see the good, the beauty inside of the things that we are doing. Now, I'm going to talk about Amanda, and I'm going to be very clear. I am not going to say anything about Amanda that is opposite of what I'm saying about Daniel. I'm only talking about Amanda now. And this is our human inclination is to go, whatever I say means it's against him or for him. I'm not saying that. Now I'm only talking about her, right? Learning, connection, caring, genuine, honesty, right? Nothing about that says that she doesn't like risk. Nothing about that says that she doesn't. Is she going to make a decision as quick as he's willing to make one? No, she's not going to. I don't think that's because she's risk averse, though. I think that's because she wants more information. She's looking for more completion in order to make a decision. He wants to make a decision and then figure it out after he decided. That is the only time he really dives into something, is that he's willing to go do the research after he's committed. He likes to commit first, learn later. She likes to learn first, commit later. Nothing wrong with that. That's not bad. That's not wrong. Just very different ways in which they approach things. Because the value of learning, the value of connection, the value of the slow, let's see, the robust, there's 5 journals and 2 courses and 3 ebooks, and I've read it all and I've seen it all. And now I think I'm ready to see, how do we open our bank account? And he's like, you go to the bank and open it, babe. I don't know what we're doing here. We don't have money to put in there anyway. Let's just open the account. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't know how much money they have. But I think I want to give an example to those 2 things, because that makes both of them unique. They both have their own foundation they stand on. Both of those things are valuable. However, they are vastly different. And the reason I picked on them, again, because they're in the same room together and because they are married, I want them to be able to use that, because I believe this is both personally, professionally, romantically, relationally, friendship, parenting, everywhere. The majority of our relational conflict in our lives is built on values misalignment. It is not built on the action that you took or did not take. I'm going to say that for you again, which is why I believe in core values so much. It's because I believe that the majority of relational conflict is built on values conflict. It is not based on what you did or did not do. Because at the end of the day, I don't think we actually care. Not because we're bad, because that's not what's important. I'm going to give you a quick example. I'm going to go home today. I'm going to walk in the house. I'm going to see my wife. My wife's going to say, hey, babe. I'm going to say, hey. She's going to say, can you take the trash out? And I'm going to say, I would love to take the trash out. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to change my clothes and take off this exact same shirt I was wearing when you saw me last, because I have 8 of them. And my son's going to come in and say, hey, Dad, you want to play Legos? And I'm going to say, I would love to play Legos. And so I'm going to go take off my clothes, put on my PJs. I'm going to start playing Legos Ezra. And I'm going to hear my wife. And she's going to say, hey, babe. And I'm going to say, hey. And she's going to say, can you take the trash out? And I'm going to say, I heard you the first time. What is it? Okay, y'all know I didn't say that. I'm going to say, yes, I would love to take the trash out. And I'm going to keep playing Legos because I do intend to take the trash out in a second when I get up and go there and get the trash. And about 90 seconds later, I'm going to hear, that would be my wife taking the trash out. Pause, ensue conflict. Now, at this point, we're not fighting about the trash because we want the same thing for the trash. Please just get the trash out of our house, okay? So why are we in conflict? I'm going to back up. I'm going to tell you 2 stories, but I'm going to tell you mine first because she is not here to defend herself. Okay, so I've been at work all day trying to change people's lives. You can't just like give me 8 minutes to take the trash out. Like the trash has been there all day. You think the trash is just going to walk out the trash can? I mean, just wait. Like just give me a second to, you see my face right now? You see my hands right now? Did you hear my voice? This is not good for me. Let me pause and let me tell you her story. She has also been at work all day. If I would have come home and acknowledged my wife before I scratched the dog, I would have given my wife a hug. I would have grabbed the trash. I would have taken it out. And 23 seconds later, there's no trash and there's no conflict. But I came home and I told my wife, who you are and what you value is not important to me. What I want is important to me. And so you can wait. Except I stood on the stage 15 years ago and I looked at my wife and I said, I will love you and care for you and serve you above myself for the rest of my life. And then I came home from work on a Thursday and I made a liar out of myself. Because I said, who you are and what you value is not important until I'm done with me. And when I get done with me, then I'll think about getting to you. But that's not how our marriage is built. We are not in conflict about trash. We are in conflict because I'm a liar. You follow me? So I'm not telling you that's how your relationship has to be built. Let me be very clear. This is not a relationship topic, advice topic. I'm giving you an example to say, for me, there are some people in your life that you have conflict with, not because they have bad values. Look at the list of words real quick. Is there a word on here that you're like, that's the reason I don't like them? I knew it. They're too excellent. I knew that was a thing. Excellence was just too much for me. Oh, no, that wasn't it. You know what it was? Ethical. They're just a little too fair. I just don't like it. They're just a little too ethical. When I say conflict in values, I'm not saying it's impossible for them to have a value that for you, you're like, that's the reason. Because there's a caveat to these words I gave you. Every word is a positive word. Why? Because core values are positive. Now, can there be a misunderstanding of the meaning of the value? That's why I had you define them. And part of your homework will be people in your life or your community or network. As part of your homework is going to be to go find someone and share your values with and share your definition with, because I can guarantee you whatever you wrote down and what your value means is not what it is it means to somebody else. And your definition of their value is not valuable to them. That's not how it works, right? Let's see if, Hannah, did you put your values in here? If you did, and I just haven't found them yet. Hannah, if you don't mind unmuting. Oh, there they, oh, nope. That was hers. Unmute and tell us what's one of your values.
So enthusiasm, free thinking, grateful, imagination, persistence, vulnerability.
You see, hey, I'm telling you, Hannah is like a firework. Y'all don't even know that. Maybe you know that. I just met her, but I'm telling you on those 5 words, Hannah is like, listen, if I'm in, I'm in. And if I'm out, I'm out. But either way, it's going to be a party. So you should hold on tight. That's kind of her like, I don't know if that's her like personal mantra or not, but that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting based on the word she said. Is that fair, Hannah?
Yeah.
Okay. And your number 1 value was?
I started with enthusiasm.
Okay, so hold right there. I want everybody else in your head to define what enthusiasm means to you. Okay, just your own personal definition. Don't write it. Just get in your head real quick. How do you define enthusiasm? Okay, great. Awesome. Great. Okay, good. Okay, Hannah, give us your definition of enthusiasm, please.
Well, now I have what you just said. If I'm in, I'm in. If I'm not, I'm not. Like,
beautiful. Okay, I mean, does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the deal. I can almost guarantee you, none of you define enthusiasm as being if you're in, you're in, and if you're out, you're out. That's not what you had in your head. Now, it may be similar. It may be close. It may be you're like a distant cousin. The purpose of the exercise, however, is that I want you to know, right? I want you to recognize, Juan said, enthusiasm is energy. Great. That's very different. It's not wrong, but it's different. In Juan's definition of enthusiasm is not valuable to Hannah because it's Hannah's value. right? So Hannah has, if I'm guessing that's her definition of enthusiasm, then she has a level of intensity that she carries. When she's most willing to be herself, she has this very, very delicate tension between enthusiasm and vulnerability. This intensity to all in, and this vulnerability and softness to when she feels safe, when she feels trusted, and she doesn't let everybody into that space because she has before and it didn't go well. And so now it's much more of a protected space. But if you get in the circle of trust and she's willing to be vulnerable with you, she will fight to the death for anything you may want or need once you're in that space. And those two values are constantly at work with one another. Is that fair, Hannah?
Yeah.
Great. And that's the beauty of us having, thank you thank you for being a great participant, Hannah. That's a value for us to be able to recognize why the language for why we do what we do matters so much, is because think about the people you work with most regularly. Think about the 4 or 5 people that are closest to you in your life. Do they know what you value? Do they know how you define it? Do they know how you make decisions? Let's go a step further back. Do you know what you value? P.S. You do now. Do you know how you make decisions? Do you have a language for how you choose things? That next investment, the next property, the next friend, the next relationship, the next business endeavor, the next client, the next social post you do. Let's go far, far tangent real quick. Those of you that are like, I just don't know what to post on social. Nobody talks. Sorry, you don't talk like that. That wasn't fair. That wasn't fair. That's my fault. I'm worked up right now. For those of you that say to yourself, I'm curious as to what I should post on Instagram for my lovely following. That's typically how you talk. Take your 5 values. Come up with 3 scenarios for each of those values that are important to you. Enthusiasm. Hannah can choose 3 things that she would say, break down enthusiasm in 3 ways. Pick 5 words, break them down in 3 ways. That's 15. That's 3 weeks worth of content. And all you have to do is just get out your phone and say, man, for me, enthusiasm is so, and just tell the following what it is you value most. Don't be fancy. Don't try to cut it up 3 times in CapCut and add captions of some things when you know what you're talking about. Just tell me who you are and why you do it. When you get through those 15, redefine those 15, but take those 5 words, take your 5 values, and tell me why those 5 things are the solution to the problem that you solve. Then you have 5 problems and 5 solutions that you can solve based on the things that you value most. After you do that, take those 5 things and define 5 things you did over the last week that were directly related to what you valued most and the beneficial impact that you found because of it. We have now just established 25 days, 1 month's worth of content solely based on core values. I'm telling you, they're everywhere. That's why I wanted to make sure we came back and had a little bit of time to discuss and to talk about core values, because I wanted to make sure that we knew and we understood that they do serve as a foundation and a filter for us. It gives us a way to better understand who we are, why we do it, and the reason, intention, and motivation behind the decisions, by the way, that you are already making. We just get to add a level of clarity now because we have a language that follows suit with what they are. We got a few minutes left. Thoughts or questions about core values, how to use them, what they mean, or what they mean for you?
Rocky, I appreciate you coming on here and everything. Talking about core values, like I'm kind of skeptical on my core values in the sense of how often they change, or like I find them changing as I grow as an individual. So I'm always kind of revisiting, like, yeah, like what are my core values? And that leads kind of a little bit of doubt with, are they really core values? Because I'm always trying to tie them back into something like a past experience or a story or some experience where I'm like, oh yeah, like that, that is something that I would not like.
Yeah. So I think that I would encourage you to give yourself a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio. Okay. I'm 100% making this up as I speak, Peter. This is not like something we pulled off of our online courses. Okay. I'm just giving this to you. You need a 3-to-1 ratio of 3, go do some shit, 1, reassess and see if I really like it. Because right now you live in the 1-to-1 space and it's killing you. I'm going to go do it. Let me reassess. Is that really who I am? Is that what it means? I'm going to go do it a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't think that's really it. I think I need to do a little more. I don't know if that's really going to work. Go do it a little bit. I think that one's going to change if we probably. Are they gonna vary some? Yes. Are you gonna find a different word that potentially is a greater representation of what you experience? How old are you?
28.
Let's go. Are you gonna find an experience at 30, a word that defines 30 that what you thought at 25 was, but at 30 is different? Oh, yeah. And at 35, you're like, hey, it's actually this 100%. I'm 40, at 30, your boy is not writing down intimacy as a core value. Because I'm like, stay in your lane. Don't talk to me because you're going to hurt me like everybody else. And I don't have time for you right now. Like, I just know myself 10 years ago. 10 years later, Rocky is like, yeah, listen, if it ain't depth, it ain't worth it because I'm tired. So either let's go to the deep end or let's not even go to the pool. Okay. Because I don't really feel like laying in the shallow water. I'm just going to get sunburned and I already don't have hair. So like, it's very easy difference for me. So for you, I don't know. Do they change? Do they adapt? Yes. Also, you in particular, stop trying to figure it out and make it perfect, though. It's not going to be that way. Just go do the thing you want to do. Stay true to who you are. And if the word changes a little bit, it changes a little bit. Is that fair?
Word.
All right. Like it. Any tips for instilling and communicating my values to my assistant or any employees that I have? Great question. Yes. The answer to that is yes. They need to be clear. They need to be written. They need to be defined. Now, I will say for your assistant or any employee you have, the moment you add on one additional person, even if your core values as a person are the same for your business, we need to clearly communicate that they just became the values of the business, because I cannot perform to adjusting to your values as a human to make sure that you are happy as a human, because that still makes you my litmus test for accountability. And if my performance is still based on your personal opinion. And that's why I always suggest in any organization, even if it's an organization of 2 or more, we need a set of values that we can all look at, because Hannah needs to be held to the same expectation her assistant or her staff is. And if it's your personal values, you get to be the judge and the jury on both sides because they're your words. Mm-hmm. If there's a language, for me, I have 2 people on my team. We have values we came up with for the company. So Rocky has his own, and they know what I'm going to do, like based on my values, but I can't hold them accountable to being me, right? I always think about it in this way. I can only lead with my values, but I have to coach with yours. So I can't expect for you to show up and operate in our business based on my values. We have to operate based on the values of the company, because that's the litmus test. We as a company do this. And if you don't perform, it's not because I don't like it. We say that we're this, and this. We didn't do that today. That's an issue. You're not an issue. You're a great person.
Yeah.
It is breaking down, however, though, because we don't have a language to look at that's not directly tied to you, the human being. So if you're looking to instilling and communicating values to your team, then we have to have a set of values that is for the organization. And I say that organization is 2 or more. We have to have a language that we're all going to agree on. It's going to be what's going to hold all of us accountable. Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Anybody else? Last call around values. All right. If you think of anything else, I know we sent it out last time. I would love to be able to continue the dialogue with you. I'd love to continue to chat with you. If you have a question about values, you have a question about moving forward, what to do, you feel stuck somewhere, I would love to chat with you. So I'm going to drop a link down there in the chat box. I would love to hop on. I'll offer for you is a 45-minute how to get what you want strategy session. It's free to you. You don't have to enter your credit card to book a call. You can just click the link and book the call. But I would love to chat with you about where you are and what you're doing, what you potentially need, how I could potentially serve you, and what that looks like. And so feel free and grab that link down there and get it on my calendar. I would love to do that. There are a couple of questions I got there for you just so I can get some better insight about where you are and what you're looking to accomplish. And I would absolutely be honored to have a chance to chat with you. So I so appreciate your time. Thank you so much for showing up on a Thursday at 1 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Pacific, noon Mountain Time, or 2 o'clock Eastern. I really appreciate you all for doing that. And I just really like to play with time zones because they really confuse me. So Julie, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. You guys, let's just give our own round of applause, however you want to do it, for Rocky. I know that this added so much value because aside from a few people needing to drop off to care for kids, everybody has stuck around. So Rocky, thank you so much for all the value you pour into the world around you. You are changing the world in a powerful way. And I appreciate you. You guys make sure, don't hesitate I would not hesitate to take advantage. And I did say that, take advantage of a 45-minute opportunity. Those type of opportunities are groundbreaking, life-changing. If that turns into, something more, you have no idea what your world looks like when you step into that type of opportunity. I know, because I'm a living proof of it. Although I haven't worked with you personally, Rocky, I've actually gone to a 5-day session with him and things like that. So I'm like, I've had a lot of Rocky and I can't get enough of it. So I'm like, thank you, Rocky. I really appreciate it. And I just want to throw some dates out to you guys. First and foremost, that Conscious Investor Growth Summit is soon to be under contract with the resort once again, March 7th, 8th, and 9th. So if you are interested, we'll be getting some information out to people who attended already. You guys actually have priority. I'm limiting tickets to 150 this time, and to keep it small and intimate and incubate everything that's growing already. It's going to be super powerful, and I would love to see you all there. So you will have priority access to tickets next year, and then we'll open it up to other people, your friends specifically, and then it will go out to Gen Pop, but doesn't get to go to the world until everybody who has been there or wants to extend an invitation to friends has had an opportunity to swipe up tickets. So grab that link. You can copy and save the chat box if you want, but I appreciate each of you, and I wish you the very most wonderful, best afternoon.